What's up, everyone? Bass here. So today I want to discuss the topic of wide receiver, and primarily the topic of how many wide receivers will the Packers bring onto their initial 53-man roster? Because at this point, although the Packers don't have a really clear number one wide receiver like Devonta Adams anymore, they sure do have a lot of depth at the wide receiver position now after drafting 3 wide receivers in last year's draft in Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and Samori Toure. I feel like most years there's usually 4 wide receivers that are roster locks, and then it's down to 1 or 2 guys to make that 5th or 6th spot. But I feel like this year there's kind of 6 guys that are pretty much roster locks in my opinion. We have Allen Lazard, Sammy Watkins, Randall Cobb, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and Amari Rodgers. In my opinion, those 6 guys are roster locks. I don't see any of those guys in any way, shape, or form being cut. And you might be thinking, well, there's your answer. You keep your 6 roster locks at wide receiver and you're good. But then you got to leave out guys such as Samori Toure, who they drafted in the 7th round, which I'll talk more on later. Malik Taylor, who's kind of been their special teams guy the past few years. And Juwan Winfrey, who's impressed last year, didn't play much in preseason due to injury, and then has been also, again, impressing this year. And I know a lot of people do like him as well. So to me, then that begs the question of, will the Packers keep more than 6 wide receivers on the initial 53-man roster? So I wanted to quickly run down the past 4 years, the 4 years that Brian Gutekunst has been GM, on how many wide receivers he's kept on the initial 53-man roster. So to start, in 2018, Gutekunst kept 8 wide receivers. From what I can tell, this is the only time the Packers have kept 8 wide receivers ever. Now, I only went back to 2010, but since then, they have not done that. This is the only year that I've seen the Packers keep 8 wide receivers. So that's kind of stating, and it's under a current GM, so it's kind of stating, hey, that can happen. In 2019, the first year of Matt LaFleur, they kept 6 receivers. In 2020, they kept 5. And in 2021, they went back to 6 wide receivers. So although Matt LaFleur has never had more than 6 wide receivers to start, Brian Gutekunst has. He's kept 8 in 2018. Yes, that was his first year, but in theory, this could be the year we see that again for many reasons. One reason is that Samori Toure has looked really good. I think it would be hard to stash him on the practice squad. I like what I see from Samori Toure, especially in the 7th round where they got him. And then Malik Taylor, like I said before, has been their coveted special teams guy. In a year where they hire Rich Bisaccia and have been really putting a hard focus on special teams, you think they want to keep their better special teams players around, and Malik Taylor could solely be the 8th wide receiver guy just for special teams. And then, as I mentioned before, you also have Juwan Winfrey, who keeps impressing, but mainly just needs to stay healthy. And I can say for certainty the Packers are going to at least keep 6 wide receivers. To me, at this point, it's whether they keep 6, 7, or even 8. As for what I think they'll do, personally, I'm going with 7 wide receivers, including Samori Toure. I think this because they have a bunch of receivers on the roster. If they go 7 with Toure, that could contribute on special teams. You have Romeo Doubs as a returner or a gunner. You have Amari Rodgers as a returner or a gunner, and also Samori Toure, if you keep him on the roster, as a gunner. Not to mention they'll likely keep 5 or 6 cornerbacks, including 2 or 3 guys that can contribute on special teams, play gunner as well. Samarjan Charles, Kayshawn Nixon, who is Rich Bisaccia's guy, will likely make the roster just based on special teams. And then possibly also Rico Gafford, who I believe was in with Rich Bisaccia at one point, but he was a wide receiver. But that guy could make the roster as well, just based on special teams. And to me, all of that put together kind of makes Malik Taylor expendable. Although he was their main special teams guy the past few years, I don't know if it's worth keeping 8 wide receivers for that, with other options clearly available. As for Juwan Winfrey to be selected as that 8th guy, I think he would have to have an amazing training camp and preseason, in my opinion, pretty much forcing the Packers to keep him on their active roster and be the 8th guy. Because if he just stays as he is and he doesn't wow them even more, he'll likely just end up a practice squad guy again. And I think Samori Toure will be that 7th guy because I think the Packers really like him. They drafted him when they really didn't need to draft a 3rd wide receiver in last year's draft. It tells me they wanted him on their team regardless, hence why I have him on the 53-man roster. And me personally, I really like Samori Toure. I did a film breakdown on him. If you want to go watch that, just click the link above. Really liked what I saw, was surprised that he was a 7th round draft choice. So to me, I want to keep him on the 53-man roster, and I think the Packers do too. So overall, like I said, I see the Packers keeping 7 total wide receivers on the initial 53-man roster. Now, of course, things can change, such as injury, if Randall Cobb or Sammy Watkins, who both have had plenty of injuries in the past, get hurt in training camp or preseason or whatever. Obviously, this changes. But as of right now, as it sits, the 53-man roster, I see them keeping 7 with Allen Lazard, Sammy Watkins, Randall Cobb, Christian Watson, Maury Rodgers, Romeo Doubs, and Samori Toure. But I want to know how many wide receivers you think the Packers will keep. Just leave that down in the comments below, also listing which ones you think. And if you are new here and want more Packers news, analysis, and updates almost daily, please consider going down, clicking the subscribe button. I appreciate everyone watching my videos, taking the time out of their day to watch my videos. It means a ton, so thank you guys. But that about does it for this one. I'll catch you on the next one. As always, go Pack Go.